"I'm out of your league now," she bragged, humiliating me publicly. So I walked away and earned my PhD. Now she's jobless, pleading for forgiveness, and I'm untouchable in my new world. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I never thought I'd be the guy posting a story like this, but here I am, looking back on the wreckage of a 5-year relationship that ended in a way I never saw coming. My name's Theo, I'm 32, and I'm a high school science teacher in a mid-sized academic town. Teaching kids about gravity and ecosystems isn't glamorous, but it's honest work. I love seeing a kid's face light up when they finally get why the sky's blue. It's the kind of life that feels full, even if it's not flashy. At least, I thought it was. Elise and I met in college, back when I was grinding through late-night study sessions, and she was charming everyone with her big ideas about marketing. She had this spark, ambitious, sharp, always chasing the next big thing. I fell for her drive, her laugh, the way she'd talk about building a life together. For 5 years, I was all in. I supported her through every late-night pitch, every networking event, every time she said she needed just one more course to land her dream job. I paid for those courses, too, dipping into my savings when her marketing gigs didn't cover the bills. I didn't mind. That's what you do when you love someone, right? You show up. Looking back, there were cracks I didn't want to see. Elise started getting restless about a year ago, around the time she got a promotion at her marketing firm. She'd come home talking about elite clients, dropping names of people I'd never heard of, acting like our life. Our cozy apartment, our weekend hikes, my steady teaching job wasn't enough. I'd catch her scrolling through social media, eyes glued to posts about tech moguls and power couples, muttering about how she deserved that kind of life. I brushed it off. I figured she was just stressed, chasing her dreams. I wanted to be her rock. One night, about 6 months ago, we were eating takeout on the couch, and she looked at me, her face half lit by her phone screen. "You're happy teaching kids about planets, Theo?" she asked, her voice sharp, like she was testing me. "Don't you ever want more?" I set my plate down, confused. "I like my life," I said. "We're building something together, right?" She just shrugged, her eyes flicking back to her phone. "Sure, I guess." That was the first time I felt a knot in my stomach, like I was losing her and didn't even know why. I told myself it was nothing, that we were solid. But deep down, I knew something was shifting. I just didn't expect it to hit me like a freight train. The night everything fell apart was at my school's annual fundraiser, a big community event where teachers, parents, and local bigwigs mingle to raise money for new lab equipment. I'd spent weeks organizing it, proud to show Elise off to my colleagues. She'd been distant lately, but I figured a night out would remind her we were a team. I was wrong. Elise showed up looking like she belonged on a red carpet, sleek black dress, heels that clicked like a countdown. She was charming the room, laughing with school board members and some guy I didn't know, a tall dude in a tailored suit who oozed confidence. His name was Derek, a tech entrepreneur who'd moved to town to disrupt some industry I didn't care about. I noticed Elise lingering near him, her hand brushing his arm, her laugh a little too loud. I told myself it was networking. She was always networking. The evening was winding down, and I was at the podium, about to give a toast to thank everyone for their donations. Elise was standing near Derek, wine glass in hand, whispering something that made him smirk. I cleared my throat and started my speech, keeping it short and heartfelt. The crowd clapped, and I smiled, looking for Elise. That's when she raised her glass, her voice cutting through the room like a blade. "To new beginnings," she called out, her eyes locked on me, a smug smile curling her lips. "And to leaving behind what's holding us back." The room went quiet. My principal raised an eyebrow, and a few parents shifted awkwardly. I felt my face heat up, but I kept my composure. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked, stepping off the podium, my voice low. Elise laughed, sharp and deliberate, like she'd rehearsed it. "I'm out of your league now, Theo. I need someone who's going places, not stuck in a classroom grading papers." The words hit like a punch. The crowd murmured, some looking away, others staring like they were watching a car crash. Derek stepped closer to her, smirking. "No hard feelings, man," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "She's just leveling up." I stood there, my heart pounding, every eye in the room on me. Elise kept going, her voice louder now, like she wanted everyone to hear. "You're average, Theo. Derek's building an empire. I'm done settling for less." I could have yelled, could have called her out, but something in me just froze. Not out of weakness, but because I knew nothing I said would change her mind. My colleagues were watching, my students' parents, people I'd see every day. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of a scene. "Okay, Elise," I said, my voice steady. "Good luck with that." I turned and walked out of the banquet hall, the cool night air hitting my face as her laughter echoed behind me. Inside, I was reeling, humiliated, betrayed, my chest tight with the weight of it all. But I kept walking. I wasn't going to beg. Not then, not ever. A few days later, I asked Elise to meet me at our apartment to sort things out. I'd already decided to move out. I couldn't stay in a place filled with her stuff, her scent, the memories of us planning a future that was now ash. I just needed to hear her say it, to understand why she'd thrown away 5 years in front of everyone I knew. Part of me hoped she'd apologize, show some shred of regret. I was an idiot for hoping. She showed up in a new designer coat, probably paid for by Derek, her expression a mix of pity and impatience. The apartment felt too small, like the walls were closing in. I stood by the kitchen counter, my bag already packed, while she sat on the couch, scrolling her phone like this was just another errand. "So," I started, keeping my voice even, "you want to explain what happened at the fundraiser? Why you did that in front of everyone?" Elise sighed, rolling her eyes like I was wasting her time. "You never got it, Theo. I need excitement, not your predictable life. Derek's got investors, connections. He's the future. You're just here." I clenched my jaw, her words cutting deeper than I expected. "So you humiliated me in front of my colleagues because I'm not exciting enough? That's your excuse." "Exactly," she snapped, finally looking up. "I'm not sorry. You were dragging me down. I spent years waiting for you to be more, but you're happy teaching kids about rocks, or whatever. Derek's taking me to the top. He's got a vision, Theo. You don't." I wanted to argue, to remind her of every late night I stayed up helping her with her pitches, every dollar I spent on her dreams. But her face, cold, certain, like I was already a memory, stopped me. She wasn't the woman I'd loved anymore. Maybe she never was. "Then go," I said, my voice calm but firm. "I'm done here." Her eyes widened, like she hadn't expected me to agree so easily. "What, that's it? You're not even going to fight for me?" "There's nothing to fight for," I said, slinging my bag over my shoulder. "You made your choice. I'm not your backup plan." I walked out, leaving her on the couch, her mouth half open like she had more to say. I didn't look back. I canceled my share of the lease the next day, packed my car, and drove to a new town a few hours away. I didn't know what came next, but I knew one thing. I was done letting Elise define my worth. She wanted to level up? Fine. I'd build a life she couldn't touch. Leaving Elise wasn't just walking out of an apartment. It was walking away from 5 years of my life. I moved to a new academic town a few hours away, a place with old brick buildings and quiet streets that felt like a blank slate. I transferred to a new high school, teaching physics to kids who didn't know my past, and enrolled in a PhD program at the local university, something I'd put off for Elise's dreams. The first few weeks were rough. I'd lie awake at night, her words looping in my head. "You're average, Theo. I'm out of your league now." Was I really not enough? Had I been fooling myself, thinking we were building something real? I kept those thoughts to myself, pouring my energy into work and school. Teaching grounded me. Explaining Newton's laws to wide-eyed sophomores gave me a sense of purpose. But the quiet moments hurt. I'd remember little things, like staying up past midnight to proofread Elise's marketing proposals or skipping my own grad school applications to cover her tuition for some fancy branding course. I'd believed in her, sacrificed for her, and she'd thrown it all in my face in front of everyone I knew. The unfairness of it burned, but I wasn't going to let it define me. Slowly, things started to shift. My PhD coursework challenged me in ways I hadn't felt in years, and I found myself excelling. I started teaching evening classes at the university, guest lecturing on science education. That's where I met Anna, a history professor with a warm laugh and a knack for seeing through my guarded walls. She didn't care about empires or flashy status. She valued my passion, my steadiness. We started as friends, grabbing coffee between classes, but it grew into something more. For the first time in months, I felt like I was enough, just as I was. Looking back, those months were when I started to rebuild. Not just my life, but my sense of self. Elise had called me average, but I was beginning to see that wasn't true. I was a man who showed up, who worked hard, who cared deeply. And I deserved better than someone who discarded me like trash. About a year after I left, I got a call from a mutual friend, Sam, who'd stayed in touch despite the fallout. I was at my apartment, grading papers, when he dropped the news. "Elise is a mess, man," he said, his voice heavy. Derek's startup was a scam. He took investors for millions, including Elise's savings. It's all over the news. I leaned back in my chair, processing. What happened to her? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. She quit her job to work for Derek's company, thinking it'd make her rich. Now she's got nothing, no job, no money, crashing with her mom. Her friends ditched her when the truth came out. Derek's facing jail time. That's rough, I said, and meant it, not out of sympathy, but because I knew Elise had chosen her path. I didn't gloat or dwell on it. My life was moving forward. I was halfway through my PhD, teaching college courses, and building something real with Anna. Elise's drama felt like a distant echo. Sam hesitated, then added, "She's been asking about you. Says she wants to talk." I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. "I've moved on, Sam. Tell her that." I hung up, a flicker of vindication sparking in my chest. Elise had wanted an empire, but she'd bet on a house of cards. I didn't need to see her suffer to feel whole. I was already getting there on my own. Elise didn't take the hint. A week after Sam's call, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Theo, it's Elise. I messed up. Can we talk? I miss you." I stared at it, feeling nothing but mild irritation. I deleted it and blocked the number. But she didn't stop. Voicemails came next, her voice wobbling like she was playing the victim. "Theo, please," one message said. "I know I hurt you, but Derek was a mistake. You were always good to me. Call me back." Another, a day later, had an edge. "You owe me a chance to explain. I'm not the bad guy here." I ignored them all, but Elise escalated. One afternoon, I was leaving campus when a woman approached me. Linda, Elise's mom, her face pinched with judgment. "Theo," she said, blocking my path. "You broke Elise's heart, you know. She's struggling because you abandoned her." I kept my voice steady, though my pulse spiked. "Linda, she left me. In front of everyone. I'm not responsible for her choices." Linda scoffed. "She's your responsibility. You men think you can just walk away when things get tough. Fix this." "I'm not fixing anything," I said, stepping past her. She made her bed. "I've moved on." I walked away, my hands shaking but my resolve firm. Elise's family was as toxic as she was, and I wasn't playing their game. But I knew she wouldn't stop. Not yet. The final chapter came a month later, at a university lecture I was giving as a guest speaker. I'd been invited to talk about science education reform, a big moment for my PhD work. The lecture hall was packed, students, faculty, even some local educators. Anna was in the front row, her smile steadying me as I spoke. I felt alive, confident, like I was exactly where I belonged. As I wrapped up and opened the floor for questions, a figure stood at the back of the room. Elise. She looked different, hair limp, clothes rumpled, her face a mix of desperation and defiance. Whispers rippled through the crowd as people noticed her. I stayed calm, gripping the podium, my heart steady. "Theo," she said, her voice loud enough to carry. "I need to talk to you. I was wrong. I know I hurt you, but I'm different now. Give me a chance." The room went silent, all eyes on me. I could have ignored her, let security handle it, but I wanted to end this for good. I kept my tone polite, professional, like I was addressing a stranger. "Elise, we're done. I've built a life I'm proud of. I wish you well, but you're not part of it." Her face twisted, desperation giving way to anger. "You can't just erase me. I made you who you are." I shook my head, my voice firm. "No, you didn't." "I did. Good luck, Elise." I turned back to the audience, ignoring her as she sputtered. "Any other questions?" I asked, my tone light. A student raised their hand, and the room refocused. Security quietly escorted Elise out, her protests fading down the hall. Anna caught my eye, her nod subtle but proud. As I finished the lecture, the crowd applauded, Not just for my talk, but for how I'd handled her. I felt free, untouchable, like Elise's shadow couldn't reach me anymore. She'd wanted to level up, but I was the one who'd soared. My life, with Anna, my PhD, my purpose, was mine, built from the ground up. Elise was just a memory, and a fading one at that. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.